Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 8 Part 24 based on novel. So let's start. The ground trembled. Numerous deep and large holes continuously appeared on the ground around Lin Dong. Cracked lines spread from these holes. His wild and violent strength caused the hearts of quite a number of people to tremble. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene unfold in the battleground. The intense fight that they had imagined did not appear. At the moment, Lin Dong appeared to have turned into a demonic beast. His green dragon hands grabbed Hojan's arm and smashed him around in a crazy and violent manner. There was an absence of any exquisite moves. Lin Dong merely relied on his frightening physical strength and took advantage of a major mistake made by Hojan. After which, he enacted this interesting and violent scene. Bang! Lin Dong grabbed Hojan and smashed the latter violently on the ground for over a dozen times. Finally, he caught his breath. His arm was swung and the human figure in it shot out in a miserable manner. It directly rubbed against the ground, forming a 100-meter-long scar on it. Those solidified eyes from around the stage looked at that miserable human figure that Lin Dong had flung away like garbage. Finally, they involuntarily swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Under the attention of the crowd, that miserable human figure finally stabilized himself. Immediately he staggered and stood up. At this moment, Hojan's clothes were in tatters. Moreover, it was possible to see some blood traces appearing on his body and even his breathing had turned chaotic. Clearly, the random smashing by Lin Dong previously had left him with some injuries. However, Hojan was no ordinary individual. Even though Lin Dong had took advantage of his opening previously, he had immediately activated his Nirvana golden body as well. Therefore, that seemingly wild and violent random smashing by Lin Dong did not cause him to lose his fighting strength. Instead, it only affected his appearance. Lin Dong. Hojan's hair scattered down from his head. His expression was so dark and solemn that it appeared a little distorted. The fury that spluttered out from both of his eyes seemed to be intent on burning Lin Dong into ashes. Although he was not seriously injured, being held by someone and smashed randomly around was simply too shameful. I'm sorry. It has been a long time since I fought. Once I grab something, my hands will feel itchy and I will involuntarily fling it about, Lin Dong merely smiled and said in the face of a furious-looking Hojan. Ying Huan, who was similarly stunned because of the previous scene, could not control herself when she heard this. She hid her head behind Mo Ling. After which, her hand continuously hit Mo Ling's shoulder. A laughter that was somewhat painfully suppressed was emitted. Mo Ling and the other disciples from Dao sect had a strange expression on their faces. If it was not because of the venue, it was likely that they would have started laughed heartily. Lin Dong's words were truly meant to infuriate Hojan to death. Hojan's expression became extremely gloomy because of Lin Dong's words. His body started to tremble gently. Clearly, he was firmly suppressing the killing desire within his heart that was formed due to fury. It is too early for you to be celebrating. Hojan's eyes stared at Lin Dong and spoke in a dense voice. Hojan was aware that he was hit earlier because he was too arrogant. With his strength at the peak of the 8 Yuan Nirvana stage, he truly did not believe that Lin Dong was able to do anything to him. Bang! The dense voice had just sounded when Hojan suddenly stepped forward. The peak of the 8 Yuan Nirvana stage strength was completely displayed at this moment. Waves after waves of giant wave-like Yuan power continuously swept out from within his body. Great precipice demon mountain body. Hojan's expression was vaguely a little wretched. His hand seals changed with a lightning-like speed. Majestic Yuan power penetrated through his skin. His original skin had also gradually turned dark yellow in color. At a glance, he appeared like an ashen mountain. Great precipice demon spear. After the color of his body changed, Hojan clenched his hand. A dark yellow Yuan power wildly gathered on his hand before it directly transformed into a long yellow spear. The spear possessed a shocking ripple that was emitted. After making these moves, Hojan's aura instantly soared. Everyone could tell that the most outstanding disciple of the Great Precipice Cave had begun to unleash all of his fighting strength. The surrounding Dao sect's disciples' expressions once again turned grave at this moment. Clearly, they were aware that Hojan was likely angered by Lindong to the point that he had almost lost control. Bang! A cold glint flashed within Hojan's eyes. However, he did not say any unnecessary words. His foot stomped on the ground. In a flash, he appeared on Lindong's left. After which, the long spear in his hand pierced explosively towards Lindong's heart without any hesitation. His attack was quite vicious. However, a green light gathered on Lindong's chest when the long spear was about to pierce through his heart. It directly turned into a head-sized green scale. Clang! The long spear heavily pierced onto the green scale. However, it was not as easy to penetrate it as Hojan had imagined. It was as though there was an extremely powerful defensive force on the scale. After the scale blocked the spear tip, Lindong extended both of his hands. After which, he flicked his 10 fingers. Bright green light whistled out from it in a storm-like manner. It transformed into green scales that directly targeted the fatal spots on Hojan's body. A green light flashed on these scales, while sharp teeth protruded from its edges. It was permeated with an endless sharp cold air, appearing like numerous lethal weapons. Humph! At this moment, Hojan clearly did not dare to slight those scales after the previous lesson. He immediately let out a cold snort after seeing Lindong's attack. The long spear in his hand formed numerous light arcs, appearing just like a light shield that knocked aside all those green scales that were targeting his fatal spots. Hojan immediately counterattacked after blocking those scales. His long spear formed a sharp arc that penetrated towards Lindong with lightning-like speed. The gale formed was something that even some 8 Yuan Nirvana stage experts would not dare to face head-on. Desolate blade. Lindong raised his head. He watched the viciously attacking Hojan before narrowing his eyes. Both of his hands were clenched gently before they hacked down abruptly. The moment both of his hands hacked down, a shocking desolate force whistled out from his body like floodwater. In an instant, it had transformed into 100 feet large light that shot out explosively from his palm. After which, the light gathered before directly forming an enormous blade. There were some cracks that began to ripple and spread on the blade. So big. Those surrounding Desolate Hall disciples were speechless when they saw the desolate blade that Lindong had created. The size of the desolate blade was determined by the strength of the desolate force within one's body. However, they had never seen anyone who was able to form such a large desolate blade. Moreover, they could clearly sense that the desolate force ripple from Lindong's desolate blade was extremely pure and powerful. The cold glint from the blade reflected into Lindong's eyes. His hand waved and the enormous desolate blade tore through the air. Immediately, it hacked furiously towards Hojan. A vaguely visible scar even appeared at the space where the blade glow passed. The desolate blade hacked downwards furiously and Hojan's expression changed faintly. By relying on his 6 Yuan Nirvana stage strength, Lindong was actually able to unleash such a formidable attack. This took him by surprise. Sky-splitting spear. Nonetheless, even though he was shocked, he did not retreat. A stern gaze flashed across his eyes before monstrous Yuan power wildly swept out. The spear shook and its size also swelled. A rich light swiftly gathered at its tip. That sharp glow was extremely dazzling. Bang! The long spear rushed out and directly collided violently with the desolate blade that was hacking over. A clear metallic sound appeared in the sky. After which, a frightening wind swept apart in the sky like a storm. Bang bang! Hojan's body was quickly forced back by over a dozen steps. He clenched his somewhat numb hands gently. Just when he looked forward, his eyes abruptly narrowed before his body pulled back explosively. However, Hojan's body had just moved when a figure had already approached him with lightning-like speed. That figure was Lindong. However, Lindong's arms have currently transformed into ferocious-looking green dragon arms. Waves after waves of energy ripples that were visible to the naked eye, spread out from those shaking scales. The young face of Lindong, who had appeared near Hojan, revealed an icy cold smile. Immediately, A cold glint flashed in his eyes. His fist, which contained a frightening strength, began to pour out like a storm. All of Hojan's retreat paths have been blocked. Bang bang. The fist violently landed on Hojan's body. Even though he was using quite a powerful physical body enhancement martial arts, the intense pain still seeped deep into his bones. In a split second, Hojan had already suffered over a dozen attacks and a trace of blood had even appeared on the corner of his mouth. His eyes were a little frightened. The ferocity of Lin Dong's close-range attacks had clearly caused him to suffer a great loss. Bang! Lin Dong threw another punch that was filled with force and heavily smashed it onto Hojan's arm. Wild and violent strength spat out from it and the punch actually forced Hojan to fly dozens of meters back. Bang! Hojan once again steadied his body. His face had some bruising. Although his attack had also landed on Lin Dong during this close-quarters combat, it appeared to have dealt little damage to Lin Dong, causing him to feel somewhat dispirited. That fellow's physical body is actually so powerful. He has definitely practiced an extremely powerful body-tempering martial arts. Hojan rubbed the blood trace from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were sinister as he stared at Lin Dong in the distance. Both of his eyes flashed. Suddenly, he clenched his teeth tightly and bit the tip of his tongue. Bright red essence blood shot out from without his mouth and handed on his hand. Lin Dong, even if you possess the strength to overturn mountains, I will still suppress you today. Hojan's eyes were furious, dark and chilly. Both of his blood-filled hands suddenly formed numerous strange seals. In the next moment, a monstrous light swept out from within his body. Finally, it transformed into a 1,000-feet-large mountain in the mid-air. There were some caves on the mountain that seemed to form a certain unusual formation that had a kind of mysteriousness seeping from it. The yuan power around the place began to ripple intensely when this mountain appeared. Those disciples from the Great Precipice Cave had a heat surging up their faces. On the other hand, those disciples of the Tao sect, including even Ying Huan, had grave expressions. They involuntarily cried out, "Lin Dong, be careful. This is the strongest martial arts of the Great Precipice Cave." Great Precipice Cave scripture? Too late. A ferocious laughter flashed across Hojan's eyes. Without giving Lin Dong any time to react, he flipped his palm and the enormous mountain with caves was accompanied by a shocking strength as it turned into a dark shadow that covered Lin Dong. That momentum was earth-shaking. An enormous mountain came smashing downwards from the sky, while numerous pillars of light shot out from the many caves on the mountain. The light pillars swiftly interweaved, directly forming a huge light array at the bottom of the mountain in an extremely short amount of time. It just so happened that Lin Dong was at the center of this light array. Bang! Yuan power boiled as the mountain brought the light array as it descended from the skies like a meteorite from space. It contained a shocking fluctuate that violently pushed down on Lin Dong. The mountain had yet to land, but the force from it had already penetrated downwards, striking the ground until numerous large cracks were formed. Even the land itself shuddered violently at this moment. The Tao sect disciples around the platform also hurriedly pulled back and made some distance. Their eyes were grave as they watched this scene. The fluctuation that was transmitted downwards from above allowed them to understand that if they were the ones doing battle, it was likely that they would have been suppressed until their even movement would not be possible. "That fellow does possess some ability," Mo Ling remarked in a heavy voice. "No matter what, he is the most outstanding person amongst the younger generation of the Great Precipice Cave. The Great Precipice Cave is also considered a super sect. Hence, it can't be too weak." Ying Huan eyebrows knitted slightly as she said, "I wonder if Lin Dong will use the Great Desolation scripture. I have never seen him use it ever since he successfully comprehended it." Mo Ling suddenly chuckled. His eyes were filled with anticipation and curiosity as he watched Lin Dong. "That fellow has many hidden cards up his sleeve. If he is not forced into a dead end, I believe that he will not use the Great Desolation scripture. Therefore, it is likely that you are going to be disappointed this time." Ying Huan cocked her head and thought for a moment before replying in a lazy manner. "It's fine. As long as we can send that fellow flying, it will be refreshing even if we are unable to see the Great Desolation scripture." Mo Ling laughed softly and said. Ying Huan also nodded in agreement when she heard this. Her light-colored eyebrows suddenly lifted as her eyes looked towards the battleground. At that spot, Lin Dong had already raised his head. His eyes were locked onto the enormous light array that was pushing down onto him. The Great Precipice Cave Scripture, a powerful martial art indeed. The mountain light array rapidly magnified in Lin Dong's eyes. However, one could not see any panic on his face. Instead, a somewhat excited smile had surfaced. He quickly let out a deep breath while majestic Yuan power whistled out from his body like a flood. Yuan power screamed out as Lin Dong extended his hand. Soon after, the space above him rippled intensely. In the next instant, it was as though a dark black emptiness had appeared in the space. An ancient aura that signified great changes spread apart from the emptiness. Allow me to test just how powerful the Great Desolate Imprisoning Heavenly Hand activated by the Great Desolation Scripture is. Lin Dong smiled slightly. His extended hand suddenly clenched and descended. The black emptiness immediately collapsed. After which, the ancient aura became even richer. There appeared to be some rustling footsteps from within the darkness. After which, a figure of light pierced through the darkness and appeared in the emptiness. The light figure was quite majestic, and one could vaguely see the imposing silhouette of the figure. An indescribable aura emerged from the emptiness. Under this aura, even Chen Zhen and the others had a vague change in their expressions. That is, the Great Desolate Emperor? Chen Zhen spoke softly. He was somewhat startled as he looked at the light figure that had appeared within the emptiness. Yes. Wu Dao nodded with a serious face. The both of them were aware that Lin Dong practiced the Great Desolate Imprisoning Heavenly Hand. It was a martial art created by a peak practitioner from ancient times. However, they did not expect Lin Dong's mastery of the martial art to have reached such a level. That light figure was no longer an ordinary martial art soul. It could already considered an incomplete avatar of the Great Desolate Emperor. Although it was merely an incomplete avatar, its might could already be described as terrifying. The ability to form an incomplete avatar of the martial arts creator was something that even Chen Zhen and Wu Dao did not have. This was because it required some extremely unique techniques. The reason Lin Dong was able to do it was clearly related to the Great Desolation Scripture. Great Desolate Imprisoning Heavenly Hand. The light figure surfaced from within the emptiness, while a cold and stern expression flashed in Lin Dong's eyes. After which, his low and deep voice resounded within his heart. At the same time, his palm faced upwards and grabbed in that direction. The moment Lin Dong's palm grabbed upwards, the light figure with the empty space also raised its hand and lightly grabbed at the mountain light array that came pressing downwards. Bang! Although the action of the light figure was light and effortless, the moment its hand moved, the air within 100 feet radius appeared to suffer from a powerful pressure, as it rapidly fled. The light that permeated the sky surged and a giant ancient hand 100 feet large was directly formed above Lin Dong's head. The enormous hand was covered in the wrinkles of time. They extended outwards like obscure and mysterious symbols that were filled with a shocking strength. Rumble. The enormous palm faced upwards and collided heavily against the mountain light array that came pressing downwards in front of the many gazes present. A frightening energy ripple whizzed and spread outwards when these two enormous objects collided. It was as though even space itself was slightly distorted. Lin Dong lifted his head. His eyes were tightly fixed onto the wild and violent fluctuations that were spreading across the sky in an uncontrolled manner. This stalemate caused a cold glint to flash across his eyes. Humph! The moment the cold glint flashed across Lin Dong's eyes, the light figure within the emptiness seemed to emit an extremely old and ancient snort that arrived from ancient times. After which, the light figure once again raised its hand and clenched it across the space. When the hand clenched, everyone could see that the space before it became greatly distorted. Soon after, the mountain light array actually emitted an intense cracking sound. Numerous large cracks swiftly spread across the mountain. Nearby, when Hojan saw this scene, his expression changed drastically, as he hastily urged the Yuan power in his body in an attempt to stabilize the mountain. However, it appeared as though there was nothing that could block the palm of the light figure. His stubborn resistance was completely useless. All he could do was watch as an increasing number of large cracks appeared on the mountain. Shatter. The cracked mountain was reflected in Lindong's eyes. Soon after, a soft voice slowly echoed from his mouth. Bang! As Lindong's voice emerged, the large ancient hand suddenly clenched tightly. A frightening force poured out from it, and the mountain light array was finally unable to endure any long. With a loud bang, it completely exploded. The mountain exploded, while the nearby Hojan was immediately affected, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Immediately, a cold glint surged within his eyes. His body swiftly pulled back unwillingly. However, just as his body was about to pull back, a green light rushed out from the wild and violent fluctuations in front of him. In a flash, it appeared in front of him. Hojan did not panic at all when he saw Lindong rushing over once again. His spear jerked and a sharp aura pierced towards the fatal spots around Lindong's body. Lindong's eyes were a little indifferent as he watched Hojan continue to resist stubbornly. His body moved and appeared on the latter's left. He clenched his hand as an enormous black tree trunk flashed and appeared. The twigs on the tree trunk appeared to be made of metal and were ice cold and strong. Get lost! Lindong lifted the black tree trunk and swung it violently. It slammed heavily onto Hojan's body in an unceremonious manner. Boom! A low and deep sound echoed. Hojan's body was akin to a cannonball as it shot backwards. Finally, it landed heavily on the ground. Cracks spread under his body, while he involuntarily spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. You have lost. Lindong slowly landed at Hojan's side and spoke while wearing a faint smile. Hojan's expression at this moment was a little terrifying. His eyes were venomous and cold as he stared at Lindong. He lowered his head slightly. However, the moment his head was lowered, his sleeves jerked and a sharp cold light shot out explosively towards Lindong's throat. A black twig intercepted the cold light, directly blocking it, while Lindong's eyes narrowed. On the ground, Hojan suddenly felt a bone-piercing killing intent from Lindong's body when he launched his sneak attack. His expression immediately changed. He wanted to speak, but before his voice could emerge, the black tree trunk had once again swung over violently. This time, it was headed towards his head. Hojan was clearly a little frightened by this vicious act of Lindong. He did not expect that his earlier action would actually cause Lindong to truly unleash a murderous strike. He, who did not understand Lindong, was naturally unaware that this opponent of his was not some virtuous soul who had spent all his life in the sect. What impudence! However, when Lindong's tree trunk was swung out, the expression of one of the grey-cloaked elders from the Great Precipice Cave changed. His body moved and he directly appeared in front of Hojan. With a wave of his sleeve, he deflected the swinging tree trunk. After which, his finger jabbed at Lindong. Just as the finger moved, an old figure appeared in front of Lindong. A palm swung out and a majestic force directly caused the grey-cloaked old man to take a step back. Hojan, who had forced back the grey-cloaked old man, stood in front of Lindong and spoke out in an indifferent voice. Elder Zheng, I'm afraid that it is not up to you to teach the disciple of my Dao sect a lesson, no. The change in the arena occurred in a split second. The intervention of Hojan and the grey-cloaked elder from the Great Precipice Cave also caused everyone to be startled. Hojan stood in front of Lindong. He was a little displeased as he looked at the grey-cloaked elder. This place was after all their Dao sect territory. This action by the latter was as though he had turned from guest to host. Hall Chief Hojan. This is merely a sparring match. Isn't your Dao sect disciple a little too ruthless? The grey-cloaked elder stared icily at Lindong before speaking. Fists and legs do not have eyes. It is only ordinary for one to be hurt when sparring. Moreover, Lindong has given Hojan a chance to admit defeat earlier. However, the latter still launched a sneak attack. This act, perhaps Elder Zheng will have to teach properly in the future. Hojan spoke indifferently. The grey-cloaked elder's expression immediately turned dark and volatile when he heard this, as fury surged within his eyes. However, he was aware of where this place was. Although their Great Precipice Cave was also a super sect, it clearly could not compare to the Dao sect. At this moment, he could only suppress the fury within him. He waved his sleeve and a number of Great Precipice Cave disciples hurriedly came forward and supported Hojan away. The Tao sect is indeed worthy of being one of the 8 super sects. My Great Precipice Cave admits defeat in this sparring match. If we have the opportunity next year, we will definitely come again for a mountain challenge. The mood of the grey-clothed elder was clearly extremely terrible after the sparring had ended in defeat. He no longer had any thoughts of continuing to stay. All he did was cup his hands together towards Hojan and speak some superficial polite words. After which, he turned around and led the Great Precipice Cave disciples to leave in a dispirited manner. Their manner was completely different from the arrogance they had when they arrived. Lin Dong watched the dejected group from the Great Precipice Cave and involuntarily shrugged. He was just about to speak when waves of cheers erupted from all around. "Little fellow, you got to show off again." Hojan watched the excited Tao sect disciples, and could not help but turn his head to commend Lin Dong. "You have done well this time around. Those fellows from the Great Precipice Cave keep trying to find some loophole and gain an advantage. This time around, they had come to issue a mountain challenge when the outstanding disciples of our 4 halls were undertaking a retreat. If you had not intervened, it is likely that they would really have succeeded today. Such tricks are hardly useful." Lin Dong shook his head. The reputation of a sect was not fought for through such tactics. These words might be true, but if news were to spread, it will ultimately not be good for the reputation of our Tao sect. Hojan nodded. His eyes swept across Lin Dong's body as he smilingly said, "It will soon be the whole competition. Xiao Xiao, Qing Yi, Mu Li and the rest are all making full use of the time to undertake a retreat. On the other hand, you are the most laid back. Now that you have obtained the Great Desolation Scripture, I will not simply let you off if you fail to obtain a good result during the whole competition. It is merely an empty title. Does teacher uncle care about it this much?" Lin Dong grinned as he asked. "What nonsense. I have waited for so many years for the Great Desolation Scripture to appear. My desolate hall finally has the chance to turn things around. How can I easily let it go?" Hojan smilingly chided. "I will do my best. Senior Sister Xiao Xiao and the others are not easy to deal with," Lin Dong said. Hojan nodded. He spoke a little longer with Lin Dong before leaving with Wu Dao in a proud manner. One could tell that Lin Dong's act of defeating the Great Precipice Cave this time around had given them some face. After all, Lin Dong was a disciple of their desolate hall. After Hojan and Wu Dao left, the surrounding Tao sect disciples immediately surged over like a flood. Their passionate eyes caused Lin Dong to have goosebumps. "Hey, thanks." A delicate hand from the crowd patted Lin Dong's shoulder. The latter turned his head around and saw the young lady, who had once again tied her scattered black hair into a black ponytail. Ying Huan was smiling as she stared at Lin Dong. Her large eyes did indeed contain some gratitude. If Lin Dong had not intervened this time, it was likely that she would have to face Hojan. From the strength that the latter had displayed, it appeared that she would only have a 50% chance of victory even if she used all her strength. Given her character, there was no telling just how terrible she would feel should she end up losing and damaging the reputation of the Tao sect. "I am also a disciple of the Tao sect." Lin Dong laughed softly. Ying Huan's large eyes glanced at him. For some unknown reason, she was a little unsatisfied by this reply. After hesitating for a while, she said, "On the account that your performance is quite good, I shall remind you in a friendly manner that Qing Yi and Mu Li are currently attempting to reach the 9-yuan nirvana stage. If they succeed, it is likely that the difficulty of raising the ranking of the Desolate Hall during this whole competition will increase greatly." Lin Dong was momentarily startled. Immediately, he smiled and nodded. Qing Yi and Mu Li were the strongest disciples of the Earth Hall and Flood Hall respectively. It was not surprising that they possessed the qualifications to attempt the 9-yuan nirvana stage. After Ying Huan gave this reminder to Lin Dong, she swung her ponytail, turned around and left without any hesitation. Her beautiful turning figure attracted quite a number of gazes from the surrounding Tao sect disciples. Lin Dong watched Ying Huan's free and easy figure and also smiled. He cupped his hands towards the surrounding Dao sect disciples before leaving with Mo Ling. In the following days, the matter of Lin Dong defeating the Great Precipice Cave swiftly spread within the Dao sect. This caused quite a big commotion again. However, almost all the Dao sect disciples felt that they a sense of release. After all, the Great Precipice Cave disciples had acted quite haughtily when they arrived, causing one to feel furious just by looking at them. In such a situation, Lin Dong had intervened in the end, turning the situation around and foiling the Great Precipice Cave's plans. This undoubtedly caused many Dao sect disciples to issue continuous praises, and some worshipping cries even appeared amongst the four halls. Without realizing it, Lin Dong's reputation amongst the Dao sect's disciples gradually soared. It even showed signs of being almost comparable to Ying Xiaoxiao, Qing Yi and Mu Li, who were top disciples with great experience. At this moment, it was likely that no one would think that Lin Dong was inexperienced and lacking reputation. Furthermore, no one would think of him as a new disciple who had joined the Dao sect for less than a year. Lin Dong relied on his own ability to completely obtain a stable footing in the Dao sect, which was overflowing with talent. After the mountain challenge, Lin Dong's days once again returned to normal. As these dull and ordinary days passed, the day of the hall competition approached. The atmosphere within the entire Dao sect grew increasingly explosive. All the disciples were rubbing their hands together and waiting for the greatest event of the year. A young man was seated on a rock that protruded from the edge of a mountain within the Dao sect. An enormous platform lay below. There were quite a number of Dao sect disciples gathered there to train and spar, and the atmosphere was rather lively. Lin Dong's eyes were a little absent-minded as he quietly watched the platform. Almost a year had passed since he arrived at the Dao sect. He wondered how his family was now. It was likely that what his achievements should guarantee a stable and peaceful life for his father and the rest in the Great Yang Empire. Qing Tan. I wonder how that girl is doing. Lin Dong's thoughts changed and a beautiful and adorable oval-faced girl surfaced in his mind, as the corners of Lin Dong's mouth involuntarily lifted to form an extremely gentle arc. Smiling in such a manner, what are you thinking about? While Lin Dong was submerged in his memory, a lovely laughter suddenly appeared. At the same time, it also caused him to recover his senses. He turned and saw Ying Huan in a light-colored clothes standing elegantly by his side. At this moment, Ying Huan had turned her head slightly to watch Lin Dong. Sunlight penetrated through the tree branches and scattered downwards, causing the originally bright and beautiful large eyes of the young lady to be dyed in a gentle light, making her appear extremely beautiful. I was thinking about the bet between us. Lin Dong lazily stretched as he teasingly said. Ying Huan, who had originally wanted to make fun of Lin Dong, immediately rotated her large eyes upon hearing these words. Her foot had also stealthily taken a step back. It looks like someone really intends to feign ignorance and go back on her words. Lin Dong smiled slightly and said. Ying Huan's face turned red. She immediately gritted her silver teeth and said, "Who is going back on her words? This lady shall clear all the debts between us today. Tell me, what do you want me to do?" As he gazed at the expression on Ying Huan's face that had decided to throw caution to the wind, Lin Dong felt like laughing. However, he endured it. He did not have anything to do. Hence, his gaze began to slowly sweep over Ying Huan's exquisite and lovely figure. Ying Huan's pretty face gradually turned red under the fearless manner in which Lin Dong swept his eyes over her. It was due to embarrassment. However, this young lady, who was filled with weird thoughts, was not an ordinary person. After her face reddened for a moment, her large eyes suddenly narrowed like a cat. Immediately, she extended her hand and a dark golden jade talisman appeared. Her delicate finger played with the jade. After which, Ying Huan revealed an enchanting smile to Lin Dong. This thing is able to transmit whatever is spoken here to my father. Therefore, you should be careful when you speak. Lin Dong's expression froze for a moment. After which, he viciously said, "You are really ruthless." Although Lin Dong was seldom afraid of anything, he still had some respect and fear towards the Dao sect master, who was also currently one of the top experts in the Eastern Xian region. Therefore, even with his character, he would not do something as bold as tease that person's daughter in front of him. Ying Huan watched Lin Dong shrink back. Only then did she triumphantly wave the jade in her hand and kept it. Lin Dong helplessly turned his head around. He cast his gaze towards the platform below. Soon after, he sniffed a fragrant wind. When he turned his head around, he saw that Ying Huan had already sat down beside him. She gently waved her hand and the emerald zither appeared with a flash. So as to stop you from saying that I do not keep my word, I shall play a song for you. Other than father and big sis, no one in the Dao sect has such a privilege. The young lady tilted her head, stared at Lin Dong and said with a gentle smile. Lin Dong was startled for a moment. He was just about to speak when the young lady's flawless and delicate hand landed on the zither. A moment later, a gentle sound akin to the sounds of nature slowly spread. The many techniques that Ying Huan had practiced were all sonic wave attacks. Hence, her playing of the zither had already reached the pinnacle. Moreover, her zither music had some strange fluctuations accompanying it. It appeared to be able to penetrate into one's mind bit by bit and settle in the deepest part of one's soul. Lin Dong's eyes could not help but slowly shut when this melodious zither music was heard. His originally tensed body had also completely relaxed at this moment. At this moment, the defenses all over his body was likely at its weakest throughout his many years of training. Ying Huan occasionally tilted her head a little and watched the young man, who had now fallen into a deep sleep and lost all of his defenses. A gentleness flashed across her pretty eyes. In that mountain crevice, she had become aware of how cautiously this man treated the world. This was the first time she had seen him sleep deeply and relax like a child. This kind of feeling was quite good. The young lady smiled slightly. Ying Huan sensed it when Lin Dong suddenly woke up from his defenseless deep sleep. The former's body once again became tense in an instant. All the defenses and cautiousness also suddenly returned. Lin Dong stretched lazily, as a refreshing feeling scattered from within his body. He had not felt like this for many years. Thanks. Lin Dong turned his head around. He looked at the young lady, who had gently placed the emerald zither on her leg. At this moment, she was smiling sweetly. Her smile was clear and bright, and seemed to be able to purify a person. A mountain, a green rock, a young lady, a zither. Lin Dong's eyes gently drooped as he captured this beautiful scene in his heart. He was aware that he might forget many things in the future. However, regardless of what happened, this scene before him would be clearly remembered by him in his heart. Although my song has an enchanting effect, it will have no effect if you have the intention of defending against it. Ying Huan laughed. After her voice faded, Ying Huan hugged the zither and stood up unsteadily. She gently stretched her waist. She completely displayed her soft figure and was just about to speak when a disturbance emerged from the platform below. Immediately, her light-colored eyebrows knitted together. Her gaze followed the source of the disturbance and glanced over. Soon after, Lin Dong saw the young lady's face suddenly turn grave. Within the gaze was a slight trace of worry. Lin Dong was stunned for a moment due to the change in Ying Huan's expression. After which, his also turned to the source of the disturbance. This video will end here.